So it's the first day of Spright being released in Master Duel, and after a little research, I wanted to show what I think are the best ways to play Spright in Master Duel currently. Now, like, keep in mind, Spright cards are broken. You could probably play Ojama Sprites and get the D1 with it. In fact, you definitely can. So like, just keep in mind, you know, if you don't have to play just these builds. The Spright engine is very flexible. As long as you're playing level 2s, you know you're probably going to be fine. So, first list we'll look at, I'm not an oil baron, I'm waiting for the events to replenish my gems, but we'll be looking at pure sprites. So, like, quick synopsis of what the Spright engine basically does. So either the idea is you have a level 2 monster on board, or you have starter. Either way, they will allow you to special summon one of the Spright Blue or Spright Jet. These two, if you control level 2 or rank 2 monster, you can special summon them, and when they're summoned, Spright Blue adds a Spright monster to your hand, and Spright Jet adds a Spright Spell Trap to our hand. So Spright Jet can get starter, which can summon out another Spright monster, or you can add Smashers, which is basically a non-targeting banish. It's like a Raigeki break on steroids. And this outs basically anything like outside of towers that you would want it to. And having a searchable generic out to stuff in a best of 1 format, that was really strong. And the additional monsters are cards that you want to summon and are oftentimes part of your end board. Spright Red is essentially just a monster negate, and Spright Carrot is the spell and trap negate. Pixies is a boost to your monsters. Because there's one thing that Spright has problems with. It's that the attack values of your monsters are generally very low because you're playing, you know, rank 2s, link 2s, stuff like that. So Spright Pixies is just a way to boost up your Spright monster attack so that if there's anything big, including towers, you can out them that way. And these are generally run at lower copies than Spright Jet and Blue, because Blue and Jet are your starters, and starter is your starter. You know, Konami finally acknowledging Yu-Gi-Oh player terminology, and these Reds and Carrots and Pixies are your part of your end board, part of your search targets basically after you do your combo. And Gigantic and Elf, your Xyz and your Spright Link monster, are your power plays. Gigantic can summon any level 2 monster from the deck, not just a Spright. It also does not require you to use Spright monsters for the material, so you can overlay Sprites to get any level 2 monster out from your deck. You can also overlay any level 2 monsters to get Sprites out of your deck, vice versa. It's very versatile. It lets you basically do any play in your deck, and Spright Elf revives level 2 monsters from your graveyard during your turn and your opponent's turn. And it gives monsters as points to battle protection. So this is a part of your end board to allow you to resummon monsters during your opponent's turn for disruption, and it's an extender obviously since it gets you more material on the field. To facilitate Spright Blue and Spright Jet, you fill out the rest of the deck with level 2 monster engines, basically. So one of the popular ones is Swap Frog. It's with combined with Ronin Totem, it becomes 2 bodies. But when you access it, Gamma is a very good hand trap. Gamma is probably the most impactful hand trap against the mirror match and Spright. So because we are running Gamma, that allows us to run Emergency Teleport, which is a very good extended for a deck because it gets you a level 2 monster on board for you to use your Spright Blue and Spright Jet with, without costing your normal summon. And the final level 2 engine of the deck we're using is Dark Beckoning Beast. This is the one that people will be least familiar with, since it was the least played in TCG. Basically, there are 3 main normal summon level 2 engines that you could run. They are either the Dark Beckoning Beast engine you see here, with 3 Dark Beckoning plus 1 Spirit Gates, through a 3 Deep Sea Diva, or 3 Nimble Beaver. Nimble Beaver and Deep Sea Diva generally do the same thing. On normal summon, they just special another level 2 out that way. How Beckoning Beast works is when you normal summon Dark Beckoning Beast, you add Opening, and then when you activate Opening, you add another Dark Beckoning Beast, and then you Dark Beckoning Beast to normal summon the second Dark Beckoning Beast, and then that's how you get your 2 level 2 bodies on the field versus the Diva and Beaver. So it costs you an extra deck slot with opening up the Spirit Gates having to be run, but it is 2 normal summons as opposed to one normal summon and a special summon. So in a format where Max Seed exists, using Dark Beckoning Beasts, if you do get Max Seed, you will give your opponent less draws off it. And Max Seed is going to be, once again, a format defining card. You know, meta defining deck gets hit by Max Seed. Another side benefit of Dark Beckoning Beast is that it's dark. So you could actually straight up, you just use Dark Beckoning Beast to go into Jin Buster, like hard make Jin Buster, which is another cool utility. I'm probably going to be testing this one out the most, since it's the least explored out of the 3 normal summon engines. And as I mentioned, the filler cards are like, I'm not sure a lot of these hand traps are even that good, to be honest. Like, to be honest, I feel a lot of them are just like bait to get hit by red before they go into their gigantic Spright plays. So like I think like the main ones that are getting value are obviously Maxi, Gamma, and Inperm, since Inperm gets around Spright Red, and the other stuff is like anti-Maxi / cross-out targets, I suppose. There are definitely alternatives, specifically board breakers you can run instead of hand traps if you feel that hand traps might not be as good in a Spright dominated format, since Spright is very good at playing around hand traps. So that's why in the TCG a lot of people shifted to using board breakers over a high number of hand traps, just so that they wouldn't just have basically waste cards to hand loop themselves while the Spright decks continues comboing. And as for the extra deck, so Gigantic and Elf, you know, they're the core. You don't need 3. I mean, 3 can come up, but like 2 of each is enough 90% of the time. You know, you don't need that many. You don't need to use that many UR points. We obviously have the Zeus package with Centauria, Downerd, and Zeus. We have the aforementioned Jin Buster. This is just another rank 2 that's a monster negate you can put up on board. And Onibimaru is the new rank 2. This is basically a removal in the form of a rank 2 monster. Next is a Lambda is a filler since we're running Gamma. And this is the pure build, so the extra deck has a little more room. And IP Masquerena is oftentimes part of our end board, so we have a couple of Masquerena targets in Appaloosa and Avermax. You could very well play a Unicorn over the Lambda too. Dark is extremely important in the mirror match, since you can revive your opponent's Spright Blue Spright Jets, and these effects trigger whenever they're special summoned. So that's just absolutely devastating if you just revive your opponent's Spright monsters. You always gotta keep this card in mind. and obviously it is a Link too, so that helps with it. And Almirage is in the deck solely so that if you only have Swap Rock, it turns Swap Rock into a 1-card combo as well. Speaking of the combos. Alright, since I don't have all the cards on Master Duel, I'll be demonstrating combos on EDO Pro. Look it up if you want to play it. For those of you who don't know, this is another auto simulator for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. Please don't hurt me, Konami. So, anyway, this is not the only combo you can do with Spright Starter. This deck is pretty freeform. You can do with the same card as hand, you can end on a lot of different things. So this will just be one of the sample combos that you can do with just Spright Starter. So you're going to activate Starter, summon Blue from your deck. Activate Blue, get Jet to your hand. Special Jet. Activate Jet. And now you have a choice between Starter or Smashers. Smashers for a non-targeting banish, and Spright Starter to get you either a carrot or a red from your deck to act as a spell trap negate or a monster negate, whichever one you choose. So in this one we'll just get the Smashers as a banish for interruption. Next, overlay Blue and Jet into Gigantic, and use Gigantic, detaching, to get out your Swap Frog. Swap Frog effect to send Ronin to grave. Activate Swap Frog effect to bounce it. Then normal summon the Swap Frog again. Send another copy of Swap Frog to the grave. Ronin will activate, banishing the Swap Frog you just sent. And then use your 2 frogs to link into Spright Elf. Spright Elf will activate to revive your Swap Frog. And Swap Frog will activate again to send your last Swap Frog from deck to grave. Use Ronin, special summon to banish another frog. This is why Ronin is banned in the TCG. Next, you can link your 2 frogs into IP Masquerena. Then you're gonna use Ronin Totem for the 3rd time this turn, banishing your last Swap Frog to summon itself out. And then you're gonna set your Spright Smashers. Now during your opponent's turn, so your opponent's gonna do something, right? Say they summon Beckoning Beast. Then you're gonna, on your turn, you can use Spright Elf to bring back something like a Spright Jet. Then Spright Jet will trigger, which can get you a starter to your hand for next turn for follow-up. And next, you can use IP Masquerena to link into 3-match material Appaloosa with Ronin Totem, Jet, and the Masquerena. So off of basically 1 card, you got a 4 material Appaloosa with Destruction Protection and you got a 3-mat Appaloosa with Destruction Protection from IP and Targeting Protection from Spright Elf. You search the follow-up Spright Starter for next turn. You have a Spright Smashers, which is a banish, and off of just Spright Starter. So yeah, it's fair and balanced deck. So quickly, this is just to show why Almirage is in the deck. If your only starter is Swap Rock, you can normal swap to dump Ronin Totem, link off Swap Frog into Almirage, banish swap with Ronin Totem, summon out the Ronin Totem, and hey, you got a Link 2 on board. That means you can go into Spright Elf, and Elf can revive Ronin Totem. And this is a fair and balanced interaction. You can now overlay your Link 2 monster and your level 2 monster into Gigantic Spright. And you can detach Ronin so Gigantic has the attack boost. Summon out Blue from the deck. Blue will activate, getting you a Spright Jet. And then special Spright Jet. And this time we're gonna add Spright Starter. And you can overlay Spright Blue and Jet into Djinn Buster just as another negate. And you have a Spright Starter, which you would hold this for your opponent's turn to see what they're playing first. But pretend it's during your opponent's turn, you can summon out either your Spright Red or Spright Carrot and choose the appropriate negate you want to use against your opponent. So even without just starting with a Swap Rock and not the non-Spright cards, you can still end on 2 interruptions. Finally, we got a combo with, if you open one of your normal summon starters, that provides you 2 level 2 monsters. You get Arcade's Dark Beckoning Beast plus Spright Blue. So normal Beckoning Beast will add the gates, which will get us another Beckoning Beast. And then we'll normal the Beckoning Beast we just added, go into Gigantic. And Gigantic will get us our Swap Frog. In summon, our Swap Frog will send Ronin Totem. There's a minor conflict with Swap Frog and Dark Beckoning Beast in that we can't use Swap Frog to return itself to the hand, but that's fine in this combo. Next we'll special Blue, and Blue will get us our Jet. And Jet can get us either our starter or our smasher. Next we can link off Gigantic and swap into Elf, and Elf will bring back the swap. And then swap will trigger again to dump another swap, revive Ronin, and link our 2 frogs into IP. And then we can, with our Spright Blue and our Spright Jet, we can actually overlay them into a Djinn Buster for another negate. And then we'll summon Ronin again. So this is like the starter board in that now we have a Spright Smasher's Banish and IP Masquerena, which during our opponent's turn, Spright Elf can revive something else. And then we can make a 3-mat Appaloosa with Elf Protection with the Ronin Totem, and we have the additional negate here with Djinn Buster. And throughout all that, you know, if they hand trapped us, you know, it really doesn't matter because we had 4 bodies that could special themselves and just get on the field. So no matter what, we're gonna end on any type of board through 2, maybe even 3 hand traps. So our next sample list now is gonna be Runick Spright. This is the build that a lot of people think is gonna be the best variant of Spright. It's definitely the most powerful variant going first. Going second, you're in for a bit more of a grind game due to not having a battle phase, but you know, benefit of this is because you're not so normal summon reliant, you can run board breakers like Lava Golem, and We're not running Spright Pixies because, again, there's no battle phase, so it's hard to take advantage of it in this build. And yes, this is Wind Up Kitten. You need ways to, especially going second, you need ways to out monsters without utilizing your battle phase. And Wind Up Kitten just lets you bounce monsters from your opponent's field back to their hand, and this is not a hard once per turn. So what you can do is Kitten bounce, link off into Elf, Elf revive Kitten, bounce something else. Then you get 2 bounces for just the 1 card that you can summon off of Gigantic. And for other card, this build can take advantage of Iblee and Capshell a bit better due to all the free level 2 materials you get from all the runic spells. And these cards basically just let you draw cards when they're either when they're summoned or when they're detached off for Xyz material. And because Elf exists, you can very easily trigger these cards during both your turn and your opponent's turn just to draw more cards. And the runic spells are just the, like, you know what all these do by now, unfortunately. You don't actually want to draw a fountain too much. Like, having multiple fountains in a deck is just like Runic Synchro. Like, having multiple fountains is kind of a dead card because like you want runic spells to trigger a fountain. You don't want to draw into more fountains, but at the same time, because runic is going to be, especially with Runick Spright, it's going to be such a common matchup that you're going to get your fountains banished quite a bit. So just running a second one like just hedges against having one of your win conditions just lost randomly. And the extra deck is mostly the same. You cut the Zeus package because obviously it's really hard to use Zeus in Runic when you don't have a battle phase. And what's really important are just having 2 Hugins and a Gary. The 3rd Hugin can come up, but you're not really protecting floodgates in this build, so you're not really losing Hugins very often, so you don't really need 3. Same with Munin. And because there's a bit more, even though funny enough, we're running runic fusions, there is some more flex space in the extra. You could run Lingerible as an out to an Iblee lock. There is an Iblee lock variant of Runic that we will get to later, don't worry about that. And just having a Lingerible in your extra is just an easy way to like out it and then continue playing your Runic cards. Alright, let's do a test hand with Runick Spright, see how far we can get. The first hand I drew, let's see. Well, why don't we start off by normal summoning Wind Up Kitten. That way we can trigger our blue. And blue can get us our Jet. Let's spin the deck before we draw some cards before we start drawing with our Runic cards. Special Jet. This time we'll get... Let's get a starter. Activate starter and get our Spright Red out of the deck. Put up our negate already. Now let's activate... Runic Spell, special our Hugin. And Hugin effect will pitch one of these to add a fountain to hand. Now let's overlay our Hugin into a gigantic Spright with our Wind Up Kitten. And let's see. Why don't we gigantic Spright, detach Kitten. Let's get out our Iblee. Let's draw a card. That's just what I wanted. That way we can keep our flashing fire in hand. Activate Fountain. And activate our Slumber. Slumber will get us our second Hugin. And let's not trigger Hugin since we want to keep the flashing fire in hand. It's the best disruption in the Runick engine. Put these 3 back. Let's draw 3, baby. Oh yeah. Now we have a Destruction and a Slumber. Let's see. We can go into Elf now with Gigantic and Hugin. Let's overlay our Jet and our Blue into Djinn Buster. And Spright Elf, revive our Kitten. Now we can link off Kitten and Iperia into IP Masquerena. Alright, so sick. Now we have... So, let's see, we have Monster Negate with Djinn Buster, we have IP Masquerena for our opponent's turn, our Spright Red Negate. On our opponent's turn, Spright Elf, we can use to revive our Iperia, which will draw us another card during our opponent's turn, and provide us material for IP, so we can choose our option. We can go into Unicorn, or if Djinn Buster is already used, we can go into something like an Avermax or a 3 material Appaloosa. And we have the Flashing Fire as a disruption with Fountain Up, and we have the requisite 3 Runick spells, so we can also draw an additional 3 cards during our opponent's turn. So, I mean, yeah, pretty good deck, yeah. Alright, the last version of Spright I want to talk about is going to be Evil Twin, or Live Twin Spright, aka Scythe or Iblee Turbo. So, yeah, well, playing the Live Twin engine causes you to go into a double restriction in that you're locked into Link 2, Rank 2 materials, but you're also, as soon as you activate your Evil Twin Link monster, you're also locked into Fiend. You can reduce the degenerate end board of siphoning your opponent out of the extra deck, or locking your opponent out of all special summons except Links, and you have a way to protect it. Well, more on that later. So yeah, I mean the Spright engine is largely the same that you know and love by now. Most of the extra deck is similar with just the added Evil Twin Links. A singular copy of Trouble Sunny, you don't make this turn 1, like basically ever, unless you just basically just don't make this turn 1 since you're most likely going to gigantic plays. But on the follow-up, when you have floating twins on board, which is usually what's going to be happen after you lock out your opponent, you can go into Trouble Sunny just to close out the game. And Trouble Sunny also, you can use it as a way to out random anything random, because a non-targeting send from a monster effect that activates in the grave is really reliable to out anything. Wait, hold on. This should not be here. No, we don't need to play the main deck brick, since that's not the main goal of the deck. Basically, the small Life Twin package of our Leelas and Kisakills, these are basically just 1-card normals that are level 2s. You know, just by summoning these themselves, you can still access your Spright combo. Or you could do the entire Scythe lock line. And Kisakill Frost it's the better thing you can summon off Leela, since it lets you draw a card during your opponent's turn. And also, if you happen to draw a starter with a live twin spell, you can use this as an additional level 2 extender as well. But yeah, other than that, it's just a just a small live twin package, and then in the extra deck. So obviously we can run the Zeus package again, since we're not in Runick's, and Artifact Dagba is to get our Scythe. The alternative is something arguably even more degenerate, honestly, where instead of Scythe you run Iblee, and then instead of Dagba you run Beat Cop. This, you know, this card, when its effect comes up, only ever is used for anything degenerate. Well, yeah, you can use this to protect the Iblee that you give them, in order so that it can't be destroyed, so that they can't crash it. And then, you know, what are you gonna? You gotta run the Linkaribo or Linkaribo or no, not Linkaribo. Linkaribo doesn't work. You gotta run the Linkaribo or bust. And another funny thing is that, because if you're on the Scythe version with Mannequin Cat, it's very funny because you could use it to special summon Scythe on your opponent's turn if they have some kind of light or fairy monster anywhere in their grave or field. Yeah, you can Scythe them. If you can't access, if they somehow stop you from accessing your Scythe, you can get it out this way. And this is it's just another level 2 that you give your opponent a monster, but you can also use it as an extender too. You can summon your sprites out of your deck with Mannequin Cat as well. Okay, let's demonstrate the 1-card Evil Twin Spright Scythe lock. You just need either twin, either Leela or a Kisakil normal summon. So let's normal Leela and get out the other twin. We'll make Gigantic with these two. Gigantic will detach and get out our Spright Blue. Use Blue's effect to add a Spright Jet. Special Jet. And we'll add a copy of Spright Starter. Now, this is where the combo differs slightly. We will link Blue and Gigantic into Dagda. Activate Starter and chain Dagda to set Scythe from our deck. And with the starter, this is also very important. Get out a Spright Carrot. Since Carrot is a spell and trap negate, it will help us play around Call by the Grave on our opponent's turn for our Scythe. So now you link your Dagda and one of these two into a Spright Elf. Elf will revive our Kisakil twin. And Kisakil plus our leftover Spright go into a Kisakil Link Evil Twin, and then our Evil Twin Kisakil will revive our Lila, you know, the standard twin combos. Link these two into Evil Twin Leela, and Leela will revive our Kisakil Link so we can draw a card. And then link these two into a second copy of Kisakil, so that we can revive our Lila during our opponent's turn. Now during our opponent's turn, when they enter main phase and they do something, we will activate Elf to revive our Carrot, so we get Carrot on the field before any potential cult buys. And then, after Carrot is summoned, we'll use Kisakil to revive our evil twin Leela, and Leela will pop our face down Scythe, and now we have Scythe left our opponent. And now we will demonstrate the Iblee lock. You can do it with a hand such as a live twin starter plus Spright Blue. Now, as a note, you can technically give your opponent Iblee with just a 1-card combo, but like it's not that good because it has no protection, so they can just crash into your Link monster that can't go to defense, and then that would be the end of the lock. So to really make the Iblee lock stick, you want to use it in a 2-card combo. So begin by normal summoning Leela and get out our Frost, special our Blue, and Blue will get us our Jet, and then Jet can get us our copy of Smashers, since we're not going to need the extra body in this combo since we already opened with Blue. Next, going to Gigantic with your twins. Gigantic, detach, special summon Iblee from your deck. It's a level 2. Fun fact. Link off Iblee and Gigantic into Elf. And now give your opponent that Iblee. Next, Elf, revive, keys to kill. Special summon special summon evil twin keys to kill. Revive Leela. Go into Leela. Revive keys to kill. The drill. Yeah, draw a card. And we're gonna link Leela and our Spright Jet into Beat Cop. Activate Beat Cop. Tribute itself. Put a counter on Iblee. And now this Iblee cannot be destroyed by battle, so they cannot crash into us. So the only way to out this is they gotta tribute summon over this, or they gotta play Linger Rebo. Well, these 3 variants, Pure, Runick, and Live Twin, I think are the ones that are gonna see the most play. I'm keeping an eye out for a couple other variants that are a bit more experimental or incomplete, let's say. One of them is Tri-Brigade Spright. So the issue with Tri-Brigade Spright is I don't have a high... Tri-Brigade Spright is missing some cards. Sprint, for example, is very important. It's a very important part of the deck. Just being able to Foolish Burial, it matters a lot more when you have Tri-Brigades in your deck with graveyard effects, and also for some reason we're missing a piece of the end board for Tri-Brigade Spright in Pit Knight early. So Pit Knight early is like another interruption. It's like a negation that you use that you can point to Elf and negate something when Elf triggers. And since we don't have that, basically the only thing you can put in that spot is like another Farragut, which it doesn't really do anything on the field. So I'm not smart enough to come up with Tri-Brigade combos that are with missing cards. So when those when we get those two new cards for Spright, I'll look back into Tri-Brigade Spright, and another variant that basically I've never seen before is Prank Kids Spright. It's probably mainly because the Prank Kids Link 1 Mail Moo was banned in the TCG before the release of Spright, so no one in the TCG really bothered looking into it, because why would you with a banned card? But since Mail Moo is legal in Master Duel, there's actually one card and like 2 card combos with Prank Kids that let you end on Battle Butler, Spright, and an Appaloosa, which is, I think it's really neat. Although I'm not quite sure how effective it is. And again, I don't know if we're dealing with another Math Mech Prank Kids fiasco, where you're just adding a lot of worse cards into a deck just to say you could play Prank Kids. Although at the very least, you're ending on Prank Kids monsters this time instead of like Warlord Savage and Super Factorial. And if you're wondering what the synergy is, yes, Prank Kids Dropsies is a level 2. So there you go, another archetype of level 2 that can work with Sprites sometimes. We'll see if there's like probably a couple people playing it, and we'll see if that build's actually any good or not. And as for additional options, so I mentioned that you don't have to go so hand trap heavy. There's the board breaker option, but also a good tech. If you're expecting this to be a very sprite heavy format, it's enemy controller. You can take it's a very good disruption because again you have a lot of free bodies on field with the Spright engine, and you can just yoink their monster as a disruption, but also on your turn as a board breaker you can take their level 2s for yourself, and then you just get a level 2 body that you can do anything with, and you rob them of theirs. Also, semi-common tactic right now. Some people like playing Dark Ruler and then clearing your board with Zeus. Wait for the battle phase, you just turn their Xyz into defense, and no Zeus for you.